And now I give the floor to the representative of Russian Federation.
Благодарю вас.
Thank you, Madam President, Madam Minister. It's a pleasure to see you in the Council. We also thank UN Special Coordinator on the Middle East, Nikolai Mladenov, and Commissioner General of UNRWA, Pierre Krachenbuller, for their thorough briefings. Madam President, in 2 weeks' time exactly, on the 4th of June, will mark 52 years since Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories of the West Bank of the Jordan River and the Gaza Strip. This date is an important landmark in the Middle East conflict and has sensitive symbolic importance for Israelis and Palestinians and for Arabs in general. For example, for Syrians, it marks the loss of the Golan, which, in spite of anything, remains occupied Syrian territory. Unfortunately, this day was not the last tragic date in the calendar of the Middle East. Others followed. As a result of various internal causes and brazen external interference in the region, several other crises hotbeds appeared, in particular in Yemen, Libya, Syria, and Iraq. And while in the Republic of Iraq, the situation is steadily normalizing, and in the Syrian Arab Republic, most of the territory has been stabilized, resolving the Yemen and Libya conflicts will still require a great many efforts from the international community. Recently, a new source of tension has appeared around Iran. This artificial ratcheting up of tensions could have the most negative consequences for the entire Middle and Near East, and also beyond. There must be an urgent de-escalation and a pursuit of negotiated solutions to existing disagreements. Confrontation must give way to dialogue. We recall the relevant mandate of the Secretary-General in accordance with Security Council Resolution 598. It is necessary to acknowledge the interlinkages of everything taking place in the region, and this is no surprise, since the region has a shared history of development and a shared civilizational space. Encouraging and strengthening close, friendly, mutually beneficial relations between the states of the region would help to improve the situation in the region in general. Following this logic, settling one conflict would have a positive impact on processes of peacemaking in other hotbeds of crisis. In this connection, we believe it necessary to redouble efforts on the Palestinian-Israeli track of the Middle East peace process. A just solution to the Palestinian problem would be fundamentally important for improving the situation in the entire region. A continuation of the conflict between Israel and Palestinians would, conversely, continue to constantly poison the overall international atmosphere and harmfully impact efforts to settle other regional crises and feed terrorism. At the same time, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. There are agreed internationally recognized parameters, which include UN Security Council resolutions, the Madrid Principles, including the principle Land for Peace, and the Arab Peace Initiative. Some may say that this foundation, this basis, has not brought about a solution to the Palestinian question and so is no longer relevant. However, the problem is not with this basis, because its final details would in any case have to be discussed by Palestinians and Israelis during direct negotiations. The problem is the factors that are hampering the resumption of the negotiating process. Removing those barriers is possible through implementing the recommendations indicated in the report of the Middle East Quartet of International Mediators from 2016. First and foremost, Israeli settlement building activity on the west bank of the River Jordan must be ended, as well as the policy of demolishing Palestinian property. Palestinians and Israelis must refrain from aggressive and provocational rhetoric and eschew violence. The terrorist attacks must be ended collectively, and restoring the unity of Palestinian ranks remains necessary. Palestinians and Israelis need to be helped to make the first steps on implementing those recommendations. That would open up the prospects for achieving a comprehensive, just, and lasting Palestinian-Israeli settlement. That needs to bring about an end to the Israeli occupation of Arab lands that began in 1967 and the creation of an independent, viable, contiguous Palestinian state existing side by side in peace with Israel, in secure and recognized borders with its capital in East Jerusalem, and at the same time West Jerusalem would of course be the capital of the State of Israel. We see no alternative to the two-state formula. We believe it is the only realistic way to bring an end to the Palestinian-Israeli confrontation and mutual grievances. Other ideas are only misleading and complicate the resumption of the political process. We do not believe that Palestinians will renounce their legitimate aspirations to acquiring statehood, whatever they may be promised in exchange. Imposing ready-made solutions on the parties will not work. We are convinced that now more than ever it is necessary to apply practical measures to get the peace process out of this dangerous impasse. Russia, bilaterally and in other formats, will continue its efforts to resume direct dialogue between Palestinians and Israelis. Our initiative to hold a meeting between Mahmoud Abbas and Benjamin Netanyahu in Moscow remains on the table. Madam President, as long as the Palestinian question remains unresolved, we believe it important to continue supporting UNRWA, including financially. The agency's activities have not only a humanitarian but also political dimension. They provide an important stabilizing effect on the Palestinian territories and the countries of the Middle East. And just recently, we made our latest transfer of financial contributions to UNRWA's budget for 2019. Madam President, Madam Minister, Israel and Palestine have an important religious importance for hundreds of thousands of followers of the monotheistic religions, and rapidly bringing about a lasting peace to these lands is in the interests of all Christians, Muslims and Jews. At the same time, destabilizing the situation in the Middle East and North Africa would deal a heavy blow to the Christians and other religious and ethnic minorities living in the region. Extremists are using ethnic and religious factors to incite hatred and to swell their own ranks. It is important that urgent measures be taken to spread an interreligious and inter-ethnic culture of peace, which would prevent new upheavals on ethno-confessional grounds. Russia has unique experience in the coexistence of religious ethnic groups and confessions. On this basis, we support the proposal of the Interparliamentary Union to organize, together with the UN, a World Conference on Interreligious and Inter-Ethnic Dialogue, which would bring together heads of state, parliamentarians, and representatives of world religions. We stand ready to host this conference in Russia in 2022. We call for an intensification of joint work on the Middle East in general, including within the Security Council. We are convinced that the unity of the Security Council can be strengthened by sending missions to conflict areas. On all of these and other aspects, Russia stands ready to work together with interested partners on an open and impartial basis without threats or negative pressure. Thank you very much, Madam Minister.
I thank the representative of Russian Federation for his statement.